what I want to do and what I'm going to do over the next few slides is talk a little bit about where did Virginia Sea Grant start 2010? Where were we a year ago? What did we do then? How did we kick off this year? Then focus a little bit more on how we did this last year. What actually happened? How did we spend our time and some of our monies? And where does that position us today? Where are we going in 2011? So from a year from now, what will we be talking about a year from now? So where did we start? Last year we launched our strategic plan. That was a year and several months multi-stakeholder dialogue taking place with many work groups, and we launched it last year. And it had these 4 focus areas that reflect a large portion of the kinds of work Virginia Sea Grant has been very active doing, and directly led to the launch of our RFPs, our request for proposals last year. We had a 1-year research RFP that hit the street, where the highest priority items in that RFP directly came out of the highest priority items in our strategic plan. So from that conversation, you guys informed us about, what we wanted to do in our RFP. But more than just the topical areas, that strategic planning process informed us about the tactics people are using in the RFP. How are people using the Sea Grant research money and to achieve the most from them? And we experimented in this 1-year RFP. We had to do a 1 year because to get back on cycle with all the other national Sea Grant programs, Sea Grant typically issues 2-year RFPs, and we're having a set coming out right now that are typical 2-year awards. But this 1-year award enabled us, gave us the opportunity to experiment with those different tactics. Folks were telling us, we really use these monies for students only. So we had a student-only funding option. Some said we use it for seed money, just small amount of money to get the proof of concept that then lets us go get other monies from other places. So we had a seed money option. And then third, and everybody always says this, we'd love more zeros in our budgets. How many people really don't want more zeros in their budget? I mean, I know I do. So we also had a little larger option in there too. And so we experimented with those 3 tactical approaches and both saw what the demand was, reflected on that some. Another example that directly came out of that strategic planning process was the coastal community adaptation RFP, which we used some of our coastal community development funding as well as some new additional initiatives coming out of the National Sea Grant Office, secured some money there. And this was an effort to, and I'll talk a little bit about it, we'll hear more about the specific projects in a little bit, but a chance for Sea Grant to put a little bit of money on the table, play to our strengths, getting into universities, providing university-based expertise for coastal communities dealing with adaptation issues, and trying to structure an RFP that would enable that to happen, facilitating university partnerships with coastal community clients, specifically on design and planning issues. And we also launched the fellowship announcements that Virginia Sea Grant administers all the time, the Canals Fellows, the Sea Grant, NOAA Fisheries, POP-DI Fellowships, the Coastal Zone Management Fellowships. But we also launched a new initiative in collaborative fisheries research to be training future scientists and workforce on conservation engineering, bycatch reduction, fish design, fish catching and practices design work. The other thing we launched last year, because as you know, we reorganized, we moved headquarters of Virginia Sea Grant to VIMS. We still are a partner, institution-driven statewide organization, but we need, but we also have, and our partners are actually really powerful institutions and well-known institutions in the state. Virginia Sea Grant needed an identity in there. We needed some branding as well. And so you saw some of the branding coming forward that you still see today. The play on historic watercolors along with the juxtaposition of the old and the new. Using those themes more, even the font script. It's now become part of how we communicate about what Virginia Sea Grant is. and identify and that identity. And I mentioned this event. Last year was the first annual Project Participants Symposium. This is the second. We have more people here this year than we did last year. That's good. I want more people here next year than this year. It's our, like I mentioned before, it's our celebration, and it's our reflection on our practice. We want to be a reflective practitioner. We want to understand what we're doing. We need to be adaptive and changing, and this event is an important event in that process. So what else happened in 2010? How did things look like? How did that RFP look, and what were some of the numbers that we saw there? For a one-year RFP, we had almost a 27% increase in the number of pre-proposals submitted. For a funder, that's a good thing to see that people are interested in your dollars. For someone submitting proposals, it means there's more competition for those monies. We had 20 new investigators, and in the end funded 12 projects with 8 different institutions being represented. In the Coastal Community Adaptation RFP, there are 11 new investigators that haven't been involved with Sea Grant funding before, 3 projects involving 7 institutions, also seeing that partnership that we were driving for between academic institutions and local government and NGOs. So a great response rate to our RFPs. Another very important announcement that we put out every year is the Sea Grant Canals Marine Policy Fellowships. We're really proud of our fellows, and I know that when I looked when you look at Virginia Sea Grant and where Virginia Sea Grant stands nationally in the Canals program, we're really competitive. It sort of speaks to the quality of the students and the quality of the teaching that's taking place in this state, because we do very well in this national competition. Among all the programs nationally, we are third with the total number of Canals alums out there, tied with just behind Washington State and California. And California has 2 Sea Grant programs. Last year, we had 5 Canals Fellows accepted into the program. Each state can only submit 6. We had 5 accepted. That put us first in the nation, tied only with California. So we have a very, very competitive pool of Canals Fellows. And they're from all over the state, and they're going to some really exciting places. Anna, who's from VIMS and Hartley Coffee, is going to be working at DOE's water power program this next year. These guys just get started this week, right? This week was their first week. Abby Gray from James Madison University, she's going to be working with the Navy in the oceanographer's office, who actually that's Rear Admiral David Tidley, who was here just a few months ago presenting, and he actually is also in charge of the Navy's climate task force. Heidi Geis from VIMS is going to actually be working on the Hill in the House Committee on Natural Resources. There are only 10 slots available on the Hill. These are very, very competitive slots. Kim Holzer from UVA, she'll be working in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife program. And Stacy Huddy got married, Rajal. She's from Virginia Tech, and she's going to be in the NOAA Office of International Affairs downtown. So these folks have some really exciting positions in Canals this year, and that alumni network that they have that they're joining with at least 54 Virginia alum and many more is a very powerful network, and it's exciting to be part of it, and exciting to be such a leader in it too. And just a quick graph to show that since we came on board, and there has been a huge increase in the number of applicants into the Canals program. It's very, very competitive. In the first year we were here, we had 2 applicants. Second year, 7, 350% more. This year, we know of, the deadline is still a couple of weeks off. We know of 12 that are going to be submitting, so there could be more. That reflects 600% increase in 2 years. That's rough for those guys. It's very competitive. Part of this is the economy, but a big part of it is Virginia Sea Grant. The Collaborative Fisheries Research Fellowship Program, I'm not going to go into a lot of details about this. Is one element I want to focus on, But it's a program where we have 5 graduate fellows from multiple institutions involved and funding from multiple places that we're leveraging and supporting a web-based course, a practicum in collaborative research in conservation engineering for these folks. But one of the tools that we built in that project is a social networking software site which is trying to help enable this cohort of fellows who are sitting at 5 different institutions up in New England, on the West Coast, here in the Mid-Atlantic. One of the students, he's currently working in French Guiana. Another is going to be up in Alaska. They're all over the world doing this work. But this social networking site is we're not doing it and developing it because Facebook is cool and because our kids use it all the time and we don't know what they're doing. But we're using it because a whole generation is using this tool, and how can we embed it into our educational programming, our curriculum? How can we use this tool to advance peer mentoring and coaching, present some seminars at different points in time, put some professional development content on there, provide a resource and a place for this community that is spread all over the world to form a professional cohort? And then how can we use this platform with all of our other graduate programs that we fund? So all of those new students that will be funded through Virginia Sea Grant's research monies, what's special about being a Sea Grant fellow versus an EPA fellow or a DOE fellow or anybody else? Some part of it, I think, is this integration component we talked about, thinking through how does research make a difference and impact an end user's decision. And so what can we do to facilitate that? How can we use these tools to facilitate that, and how can we leverage it? So that's what I think is some of the exciting pieces coming out of that project that we're going to be expanding. It's also reflecting, I think, what we end up trying to have to do in Sea Grant. For every project we conduct and every product we produce, we need to get 2 or 3 uses out of that product. It's not just a one-off. We have a whole session on outreach and extension and educational activities, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but want to hit just a few highlights. I mean, there are some really significant impacts that Virginia Sea Grant's having through its education and extension and outreach and communication programming. These are our communication products that you've seen. These are actually impacts and performance measures that were reported nationally, and those are really important types of impacts and measures to be reporting, particularly in today's climate and budget climate. So very important. The number of clean marinas that we certify, the HACCP trainings that take place through the Virginia Tech program, the undergraduate and graduate students supported through research and extension activities, the number of students that we reach and the curricula that get developed, but also impacts from the standpoint of actually conducting research and seeing the outcome of that research adopted in regulations. Really important impacts for our programs.